In a world driven by deadlines, expectations, and constant pressure to produce results, the idea of letting go can feel counterintuitive. We are told to hustle, to push harder, to make it happen no matter what. And yet, somewhere deep within, there is a quiet voice whispering something far different. Relax. That voice doesn't come from fear or fatigue, it comes from wisdom. Because when you truly understand how life works, when you trust that there is something greater than your own effort guiding the outcome, you begin to see that not everything needs to be forced. What's meant for you will not pass you by, and if God wants it to happen, it will. This isn't about becoming passive or giving up. It's about finding the balance between intention and surrender. It's about recognizing that while your role is to take the steps, to plant the seeds, and to water them faithfully, the actual blossoming is not something you control. There is a divine intelligence at play, one that sees what you cannot see, knows what you do not know, and works in ways far beyond human logic. That's why relaxing is not a weakness, it's an act of profound faith. When you are constantly trying to force something into existence, you place yourself in opposition to the natural flow of life. You're saying, I know better, I must make this happen now. But the truth is, forcing often leads to frustration, resistance, and exhaustion. On the other hand, when you relax into trust, real trust, you align with the rhythm of life. You begin to experience peace even when things aren't going your way, because you understand that delay doesn't mean denial. Sometimes it's simply protection, sometimes it's preparation. The journey to anything worthwhile involves moments of uncertainty, but within those moments lies the opportunity to grow your trust, to deepen your faith. You don't have to know how everything will unfold. You just have to know that if it's meant to be, it will be, and you will not miss it. What's yours cannot be taken. What's divine cannot be rushed. Relaxing isn't about standing still, it's about moving from a place of calm assurance. It's about knowing that you've done what you can, and now it's time to let go of the need to control the rest. This is where inner peace is born. In that quiet space between effort and outcome, between asking and receiving, between striving and surrendering, something beautiful begins to unfold. Trust. There is a power greater than your will, greater than your fears, greater than your plans. When you trust that power, you no longer live in a constant state of anxiety. You don't chase. You don't beg. You simply walk in confidence, knowing that what's truly aligned with your purpose will find you. And when it does, it won't require you to break yourself to keep it. It will flow, it will feel right, it will come without force, so take a breath, step back, and allow what's meant to be to be. Know that every effort you've made is seen. Every prayer, every moment of doubt, every act of faith. It all matters, but at some point you must release it. You must let go and let God, because in that surrender you find your strength. In that letting go, you discover peace. And in that peace, miracles are born. If God wants it to happen, it will. That truth doesn't make you weak. It makes you unshakable, because now you're no longer tossed by the waves of circumstance. You're anchored in something eternal. And that is where true power begins. We spend so much of our lives trying to hold everything together. Careers, relationships, dreams, expectations. There's this deep-rooted belief that if we don't constantly control every detail, things will fall apart. We obsess over outcomes, over timelines, over what should happen and when. But what if that belief is the very thing keeping us stuck? What if the constant need to control is actually standing in the way of what's truly meant for us? The illusion of control is one of the greatest causes of stress in our lives. We think we're steering the ship, but in reality, the ocean is much bigger than we are. The winds shift, the tides change, and we can't always see the shore. Trying to micromanage life leads to frustration because life was never meant to be micromanaged. It was meant to be experienced with a blend of intention and surrender. You are not meant to carry the weight of every outcome. You're meant to trust the process. Yes, there's work to be done. Yes, discipline and focus matter. But above all, there has to be space for trust. Trust in timing, trust in detours. Trust that what feels like a setback could be a setup for something better. The truth is, you can't control how people will respond, how opportunities will unfold, or how quickly success will arrive. But you can control your faith. You can control how you respond when things don't go as planned. That's where your real power lies, not in forcing results, but in staying grounded when the results seem delayed, and that's when miracles often happen, not when we push, but when we pause, not when we grasp, but when we release. So let go of the illusion that you need to make everything happen on your own. You are not alone in this journey. There is a greater force guiding you, protecting you, and preparing you. Trust it. Let it do its work. And remember, sometimes the greatest breakthroughs come right after we stop trying to force them. Sometimes the most beautiful things happen when we simply allow. Every great achievement begins with desire. That burning inner urge, the quiet yet persistent feeling that you're meant for something more, is not an accident. It's the starting point of all creation. Desire is the seed from which possibility grows. Without it, nothing moves, nothing changes. Napoleon Hill emphasized this truth because he understood that desire is the spark that sets the entire process of success into motion. But desire alone is not enough. It must be more than a passing thought or a fleeting wish. It has to be something you feel in your bones, so strong that it fuels your actions, sharpens your focus, and awakens your purpose. Still, even the deepest desire must be rooted in something greater than ambition. It must be grounded in alignment with truth, with timing, and with trust. When your desire is pure, when it stems from the core of who you are rather than from ego or desperation, it naturally begins to attract the right paths, the right people, the right opportunities. But if that same desire turns into obsession, into control, into fear of not getting what you want, it begins to work against you. It becomes heavy. It becomes frantic. And that frantic energy sends a very different message to life, one of doubt, one of lack. The key is to hold your desires with open hands, to want deeply but not desperately, to care but not cling, to dream but not demand. True desire invites collaboration with the divine. It says, "This is what I long for, and I trust that if it's meant for me, it will come to me in the right way at the right time." That level of inner alignment turns desire into magnetism. It pulls rather than pushes. It allows rather than chases, so never feel guilty for wanting more. Desire is not selfish. It's sacred, but let your desire be a spark, not a fire that consumes your peace. Let it move you, not control you. Let it guide you, not define you. When you combine that deep desire with unwavering faith, you become unstoppable, not because you control everything, but because you trust that what's truly meant for you cannot be taken away. Faith is often misunderstood. It's not just a hopeful thought or a positive mindset. It's not something you turn on only when things go well, or something you reach for only when you've run out of options. True faith is a way of being, a quiet, unshakable certainty that rises up from within and whispers, "Even if I can't see the path, I know there is one." Faith isn't passive. It's not about sitting back and waiting for life to happen. It's an active force. It's the decision to believe in the unseen, to trust in timing, and to keep walking even when you don't know what's around the next corner. Faith says, "I've done my part. Now I trust that life will do the rest." It removes the weight of worry and replaces it with peace. It doesn't mean you won't have moments of fear or doubt, but it does mean that those moments don't define you. You feel them, you acknowledge them, and then you return to center. That quiet inner place where you know that something greater is guiding you. You don't have to see the entire staircase to take the first step. You don't need every answer to move forward. That's faith, and faith doesn't require proof. That's the beauty of it. It's choosing to believe before the evidence appears. It's trusting that the things aligned with your purpose will never miss you, that delays are not denials, that closed doors are not rejections, they are redirections. Every no is pointing you to a better yes. Every detour is a part of the divine route. With faith, you stop chasing and start attracting. You stop forcing and start flowing. When you live with faith, you begin to notice subtle shifts. Peace becomes your default. Pressure fades. Desperation dissolves. You are no longer ruled by the need to make things happen instantly. You are ruled by assurance. You become still inside, even when everything outside is in motion. That's the power of faith. It anchors you in trust, it carries you through storms, and it reminds you that if God wants it to happen, it will, and nothing, absolutely nothing, can stand in the way of that. There is a point in every journey where effort begins to blur into resistance. We start with good intentions, driven by purpose, inspired by vision. But somewhere along the way, our striving turns into struggling. What began as focused pursuit becomes a battle against ourselves. We push harder, think longer, force more, and still the results don't arrive the way we hoped. That's the moment to pause, not to quit, but to reassess. Because effort, when rooted in faith, flows. But effort rooted in fear becomes resistance. Not all hard work is productive. Sometimes we're pouring energy into the wrong doors, trying to open what was never meant for us. And instead of pausing to realign, we push even harder, thinking more force will make it work. But force doesn't create miracles. Force creates friction. There's a difference between persistence and pressure. Persistence comes from belief. Pressure comes from doubt, and the more you press from a place of doubt, the more you block what's truly meant for you. We've been taught that relentless effort is the only path to success. That if something isn't working, the answer is to try harder, push more, lose sleep, stress more. But what if that's not the answer? What if the real answer is to stop pushing and start listening, to stop forcing and start trusting? Because when effort becomes resistance, that's often a sign you're out of alignment. You're no longer working with life. You're working against it, and nothing lasting or meaningful is ever built from that place. That doesn't mean you stop taking action, but it does mean your actions come from a place of peace, not panic, from clarity, not chaos, from flow, not force. When you're in alignment, effort feels different. It may still be challenging, but it's never draining. You feel connected, you feel guided, and even if progress is slow, there's a quiet knowing that you're on the right path. So if you feel yourself pushing too hard, step back. Breathe, realign, because the moment you stop resisting, the moment you surrender the need to control everything, you open space for grace to do its work. There is a divine rhythm to everything in life. Seasons don't rush to bloom, the sun doesn't rise before its time, rivers don't fight to find their path. They flow where they're meant to, and yet we often try to race ahead of our own timing. We become impatient, anxious, even resentful when things don't happen according to our plans. But life doesn't move according to human schedules, it moves according to divine timing, and when you truly understand that, you stop fighting the pace of your own growth. You begin to trust that delays are not punishments, they are preparations. Alignment with divine timing means releasing the idea that you're behind. There's no such thing. You are exactly where you need to be for what's unfolding in your life. The process is always working, even when you can't see the progress. Things are shifting behind the scenes in ways you may never fully understand. And sometimes the only thing you're being asked to do is wait. With grace, with faith, and with patience. Not a passive waiting, but a peaceful one. A waiting that trusts something sacred is being arranged on your behalf. The ego will scream for certainty, for results, for immediate answers. But your spirit knows better. Your spirit knows that rushing something that's meant to take time doesn't bring it faster. It only brings frustration. You cannot force what is still unfolding. You can only align yourself with the timing of its arrival. Trust is not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about believing everything has a purpose, even the pauses, even the silence, even the detours. Because sometimes the waiting is what builds the strength, the wisdom, and the clarity you'll need for the very thing you're praying for. When you align with divine timing, you release the pressure of needing everything to happen now. You stop comparing your pace with others. You stop measuring your worth by speed. You begin to understand that what's meant for you will not miss you, and what misses you was never meant to stay. In that space, you find a deeper peace. And in that peace, you find your power, not in controlling the clock, but in trusting the hands that hold it. When you begin to align with divine timing and surrender the need to control outcomes, something remarkable begins to happen. You start to recognize the signs. Life starts speaking to you, not through loud announcements or dramatic revelations, but through quiet confirmations. The right people appear, The right words come at the right time. Unexpected opportunities show up without force. This is alignment. It's not coincidence. It's not luck. It's confirmation that you are exactly where you're supposed to be, doing what you're meant to do, even if the full picture isn't clear yet. One of the most telling signs of alignment is the peace that settles over you, even in uncertainty. You stop needing everything to make sense. You no longer feel desperate for answers. There is a stillness in your heart, a calm confidence that everything is unfolding as it should. And that peace is not because everything is easy. It's because you trust that everything is purposeful. Peace isn't the absence of difficulty, it's the presence of alignment. Another sign is flow. When you're aligned, doors don't have to be forced open. They open naturally. You don't have to beg for what's meant for you. You don't have to constantly push or chase. Things come together with surprising ease. You begin to operate from a place of inspiration rather than stress. And even when you're working hard, it doesn't feel like a struggle. It feels meaningful, guided, and connected. That's the power of walking in alignment with divine will. You also start to notice a quiet inner knowing, a sense that something is right, even if you can't explain why. You trust your intuition more. You let your soul speak louder than your fear, and you stop doubting every step you take because you've learned to recognize that inner yes, the one that feels like truth, not noise. These signs aren't always dramatic. Sometimes they're subtle, a moment of clarity, a sudden peace, a message you needed to hear at exactly the right moment. Trust those signs. They are not accidents. They are reminders. Reminders that you are guided, that you are supported, and that what's meant for you is already finding its way. Your only job is to stay aligned, stay open, and stay faithful. Patience is one of the greatest demonstrations of trust. It's easy to be calm when things are going your way, when progress is visible, and everything feels under control. But real patience shows up when there's silence, when prayers seem unanswered, when doors feel closed. It's in these moments, when everything within you wants to panic, rush, or retreat, that patience becomes a powerful choice. Not because you're avoiding action, but because you've chosen trust over turmoil. You've decided that peace within the waiting is more valuable than fear in the unknown. Most people view waiting as wasted time. But spiritually, waiting is often sacred time. It's a season where you're being strengthened in ways that can't be seen. Your roots are growing deeper. Your character is being refined. Your understanding is being expanded. And more importantly, your connection to the source, the divine, the deeper wisdom within, is being sharpened. You learn to listen more carefully, to see with eyes that look beyond the surface, to hear what silence is really saying. Impatience often comes from the fear that nothing is happening, but that fear is a lie. Life is always moving, always shifting, always responding. Just because you can't see the outcome yet doesn't mean it isn't already unfolding. Think of the seed beneath the soil. Just because it hasn't broken through the surface doesn't mean it isn't growing. The same is true for your purpose, your healing, your breakthrough. Patience allows you to stay rooted in this truth. Patience is not passive. It's powerful. It says, I know what I've asked for. I know what I've prepared for, and I trust the timing of its arrival. That kind of patience holds space for miracles. It opens the door for alignment. It keeps your heart soft, your spirit steady, and your focus clear. So when everything feels slow, when nothing seems to be moving, remember, you are not being punished. You are being positioned, and the one who waits with faith never waits in vain. Because if God wants it to happen, no amount of delay can stop it, and if not, then something greater is already on its way. There comes a moment when you begin to realize that letting go is not weakness, it's wisdom. We often think that holding on proves strength, that if we just grip tighter, push harder, or wait longer, we can force things into place. But some things are not meant to be held. Some things are meant to be released. Not because you failed, not because you gave up, but because you finally understood that peace is more valuable than pressure. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. It means you release what no longer aligns with your spirit, your growth, your future. We hold on for many reasons: fear, habit, hope. We hold on to relationships that have run their course, to dreams that no longer light us up, to timelines that were never ours to begin with. But the longer we hold on to what isn't working, the less room we create for what is meant to arrive. Letting go is a sacred act of trust. It says, I no longer need to control this outcome to believe in my worth. I trust that if this isn't for me, something better is. That shift is powerful. It's where your freedom begins. Sometimes the very thing you're afraid to release is the thing holding you back. Not because it's bad, but because it's not aligned, and alignment always calls for space. It calls for release. You can't receive what's next if your hands are full of what was. You can't hear your next direction if your mind is crowded with noise from the past. So yes, there is courage in holding on, but there is greater courage in letting go with grace, in saying, this no longer serves me, and I honor it enough to release it. And when you do, you invite something higher to step in. You shift from control to flow, from grasping to receiving, from resistance to alignment, and in that space, something beautiful begins to move. Not because you forced it, but because you finally made room for what was always meant to be yours. As you reflect on everything that has brought you here, you realize that the greatest source of strength is not in your actions alone. It's in your ability to trust. The trust that even when things don't go as planned, or when the road seems long and uncertain, you are never truly lost. The universe, life, or whatever you choose to call it, has a way of guiding you even when you feel uncertain or afraid. This guiding force doesn't work according to your schedule or expectations, but according to a higher order that is always in motion. The key is learning to trust that if it is meant for you, it will come. Not before, not after, but exactly when it's supposed to. When you come to this place of understanding, you stop running the race against time, you stop chasing what's next, and you start living in the present. You stop looking for answers and begin to realize that the answers are already within you. They've always been there, quietly waiting for you to trust the timing of your life. The world doesn't need more people pushing harder or chasing faster. The world needs people who are willing to be still, to listen, to trust, and to align with what is unfolding around them. Living with this trust doesn't mean that everything will always be easy, but it does mean that you no longer have to struggle against the current. The current will always take you where you need to go if you stop trying to swim upstream. When you let go of the need to control the outcome, you start to notice that things flow more effortlessly. You begin to see the perfect order in chaos. You recognize the beauty in every moment, even the ones that don't seem to make sense. The truth is every experience, every challenge, every delay is simply a part of the journey that's getting you to exactly where you need to be. And when you trust that, you walk through life with a sense of peace, a peace that comes from knowing that no matter what happens, you are supported. No matter how long it takes, you are exactly where you are meant to be. The divine has a plan for you. If God wants it to happen, it will. You will never miss your purpose, and what is truly meant for you will find its way. The only thing left to do is trust, let go, and allow life to reveal its miracles in its perfect timing.